Hello, Steve39. Well, I finally watched the second part of Master Universe Revelation. Now, it was available to me earlier in the day, but I procrastinated right through till about 3 a.m. in the morning because I just didn't want to deal with it because I didn't think it was going to be good. Now, the first episode, and I'm going to try and keep to the points and not go too much into detail so it's not too long. They start off with a flashback where the sorceress is sacrificing her life with Man-at-Arms and baby Teela to serve Castle Grayskull, and then they flash forward to the future where she's sacrificing herself again. She manifests herself so that she can fight Skeletor one more time. He runs a knife through her, but she manages to allow Teela to transport everyone else back to the palace for safety. Now, she manages to save Adam. Basically, the sorceress sacrificed herself kind of for Adam because her power sort of transfers to Teela, who is able to save Prince Adam. And then he basically calls for the power of Grayskull within the palace without the sword, and he becomes Savage He-Man, and they temporarily beat Skeletor, and they are transported again, but this time to Point Dread, where they are hidden by the power, the magic of the Mystic Mountains. And they basically hide out there pretty much for the whole 5 episodes. Now everyone's dealing with their issues. Teela's dealing... sorry, got ahead of myself. They transport Savage He-Man as well, and his issues are with his father. So after he runs them up for a while, they eventually get to Point Dread, and he confronts his father, and he's going to kill him because he's angry and he's an animal and he's not thinking, he's just raw sort of power and brute force. And we have a really interesting moment where the king basically says, I was a bad father, I wasn't proud of you, I didn't tell you I loved you. And he hugs this hulk of a giant He-Man and says, I love you and I'm proud of you. I never said I love you and I'm proud of you. And Savage He-Man cries and then turns back into Adam. It was an interesting scene. Then they spend the rest of the time trying to strategize and work out what to do and how to handle things. The parents are glad to have him back. Everyone's congratulating and thanking everyone. They give Ardra a position as a lieutenant. She wants to stay with them. She said, I never had a family. I want to be part of this family. Teela is trying to come to terms with the fact that she has to become the sorceress. And she realizes that they're going to have to get their armies together, but they're also going to have to get all the forces of Eternia together, and she's going to have to call them because Evil-Lyn is basically Evil-Lyn is blocking all the transmissions on the planet because Skeletor made her the sorceress, and now she's kind of trapped in the Castle Grayskull, and she's realizing Skeletor is really limited. He hasn't really realised the scope of his power, and he's really just thinking of using his power to destroy He-Man and just to sort of have it. He didn't have any big plans, and he hasn't seen any bigger vision out of this. So she's realising that she actually is better for the job than him. Now Beastman reveals himself to be her friend on some level, and tells her, you don't need him. The power goes through Castle Grayskull through you. You need to get rid of him. And she says, I do. I need to be rid of him for all of us. And she plots to take the power. Now, she actually seduces him into having relations. And in order to do that, much like Superman in the old movies, he has to power down to do it. So he renounces the power. And then she takes his sword and she takes the power. So she becomes like God, Evil-Lyn. I don't know what to call her. I don't know what they called her in the show, actually. They didn't really give her a name. I'm sure there's one in the credits, and there will be one for the toy. Skeletor eventually runs away and ends up at the castle trying to join forces with, Point Dread, with Prince Adam and everyone else, which kind of is interesting and kind of works. They kind of get a strategy where they're going to try and distract Evil-Lyn while Teela enters and goes into the pool that the sorceress goes into to basically sacrifice herself in the same way that the sorceress did. So I'm probably missing out a bunch of stuff, but a whole bunch of scenes where they're all dealing with their issues and so forth. One thing that happened early on I forgot to mention was they actually had, when Skeletor turned everyone into zombies, Fisto and Clamp Champ, their one black character, basically get turned into zombies and killed and their spirits destroyed. So they're not just dead, they're like gone, they don't have spirits. So that was pretty harsh. I was expecting them to be around for the main battle. They didn't have, that was just unnecessary. Now again, they're all just sort of preparing for this final battle. And they go in, they pretend like they want to talk to Evil-Lyn, because Evil-Lyn has worked out that, like Skeletor, there is no plan. The universe is just empty and like power and emptiness, and she's feeling disillusioned, no future, no hope. She just wants to destroy everything because she feels there's just nothing. So that's her sort of plan. And Adam's trying to talk her out of it. But this is just a distractor. They end up fighting, and eventually she gets knocked on her butt, and Adam gets the sword. And he turns himself into He-Man and Skeletor into Skelegod so they can both fight her, because he wants him to see what it's like to fight for good. So they fight. Now Teela decides to step in, because her mother's there as a ghost, sort of saying, I didn't want this for you, you know. But she's like, I have to do it. And she's like, yes, you have to do it because this is basically our destiny. But she realizes, you know what, I don't have to give up everything because I'm more powerful with those that I love. So she manages to take the power, merge with the power, and leave the castle. So she takes on Evil-Lyn. Evil-Lyn's like, I can fight you, I just got to leave the castle because you're stuck here. Oh no, that didn't work. She follows her, and boom, they have this giant god fight in the sky over Castle Grayskull, which they've knocked the roof off. And they eventually knock themselves into another planet or dimension or something, and they both sort of resolve this vision that they had of Zoar and a serpent and being bitten, falling into a pond, and just Evelyn only sees the negative in the dark, and she's saying, yes, the world is full of this, but it's also full of beauty and love and magic. And she basically gives up her plan to destroy the galaxy, the planet, the universe, creation, everything, because the reason why she was still able to fight them was we had this merging of all the planets and Eternity being at the center of the universe for this moment, and that giving her like 1,000 times more power than Grayskull. So even without the power of Grayskull, she was still able to channel that through the castle, and that's what she's fighting Sorceress Teela with. But eventually she lets it go. Now Skeletor and He-Man end up fighting because once the girls take it outside, Skeletor, of course, turns on He-Man again, because he's like, this is basically, because he's so, that's all he can think of, is that's his idea, that's his reality. It's just He-Man and Skeletor at each other's throats for the end of eternity, you know, to the end of eternity. That's all he sees. So they fight. Eventually He-Man just knocks him out of the park, literally, very much old school He-Man. I thought Skeletor was going to die. I thought they're going to end the series, they're going to kill Skeletor, because they're going to end this, it's going to be a one-off, and we're just going to have everyone in different roles. But no, they just knocked him out of the park. And Orko comes back because Evil-Lyn brought back all the dead, brought everyone back from the dead, and Orko was one of the ones she brought back, and she's like, damn it. They fight, and he's also fighting Scareglow, who she brought up with all the dead, because she destroyed Pre-Eternia. Basically, she destroyed heaven to take away everyone's hope. That was one of the last things she did before the last battle. And she raises everyone from hell, basically. And Orko manages to defeat him, though. So it all ends fairly well. He-Man comes back, of course, and he defends everyone. And he has that moment where he says, you know, find somewhere safe. People are like, there's nowhere safe. He's like, there is, behind me. And yep, he basically slays all the dragons. So we have one good battle scene with He-Man. So that's basically all we get. Through all the 10 episodes, we get one episode combined out of the 2 episodes lengthwise. We really get about one episode of He-Man, and the rest is Teela and Evil-Lyn resolving their issues, because Evil-Lyn basically realizes that she's an abused wife, basically, and that she has to escape Skeletor and get out of this abusive mental sort of trap that she's gotten in with Skeletor. So I have said things a bit out of order, but it's hard to get it all in one telling. But yeah, basically everything ends well. Prince Adam and Teela basically acknowledge their feelings for each other. Andra becomes Man-at-Arms. Man-at-Arms retires. Teela is both the sorceress and part of the army, I guess, part of the kingdom. And it all sort of ends happily ever after, I guess, until it doesn't, because I thought that's how it was going to end. And then we have one last scene with Skeletor, the newly refurbished Snake Mountain, which has been converted to worship the motherboard. And while he's basically denouncing everyone for abandoning him for the motherboard and this idol, he goes to destroy it. And he can't, because it's got its own power. And what comes out of it? But a female form, which then projects the symbol of the Horde and stabs him with a bunch of conduits with nanoprobes, basically, and starts to turn him into part of Motherboard. And that's where the series ends. So they're having a cliffhanger. So all the promise of this one-off story with this changing everything and different characters and different conclusions and these real consequences and so forth. He-Man doesn't die, Skeletor doesn't die. They all end up back in their places pretty much at the end, with only a couple of shifts. Ardra for Man-at-Arms, Teela for Sorceress while still being Teela, and the Sorceress still being a ghost, I think, in the castle. It's hard to tell. And Skeletor's still alive, and although he's basically being possessed by some form of Hordak or some sort of minion of Hordak or something, basically they're just going into the next series. So it was kind of disappointing in a lot of ways because of that. I mean, I was really angry when they killed the Sorceress at the start. The fact that she sort of seems to be living as a ghost in Castle Grayskull, not really being gone, kind of makes up for it a little bit, since she was always trapped in the castle anyway. But I don't know, and Castle Grayskull seems to be back in place, even though it's just an illusion. They seem to have forgotten that. It was a bit all over the place. It wasn't great, but it was better than the first part. And they really would have done a better job of showing the whole thing as one series, because having that as a cliffhanger just made the first part unwatchable. But as part of the whole, it works a lot better, and the second part is a lot better. And whether they change things because of how things went in the first part, or whether everything stayed as planned, I'm not sure. But it was okay. It didn't bother me as much as the first part. They sort of fixed everything to an extent, changed things to a degree, but still left the pieces in place to have a second season, which I didn't think they were going to do. I thought they were, at least, if they were going to change things, they were going to give us a new conclusion and an ending, and sort of end the whole series and give it like a bookend sort of thing. But they didn't. They just sort of are leading into another series, which I don't know if it's going to happen or not, if it doesn't. So, yeah. I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. I just wanted to go through what happened. I wanted to talk through it. I needed a bit of YouTube therapy because I wasn't totally happy with how it went. But there were moments where I enjoyed it, and there were parts that did work. And there's one part that was a mystery, I just realised. Orko is about to be pulled away with all the demons, because He-Man and Teela basically send all the demons away. That's like the end of the battle, I forgot. After she resolves their issues with Evil-Lyn, she comes back to the battle, and it's the two of them that resolve the battle, not just He-Man on his own. He kind of knocks them out a lot and knocks them around a bit, but she actually helps him to actually end everything, put everything back to normal. And as all the demons are disappearing, Orko is going to be dragged off. And he said, well, I kind of knew it wasn't going to last. And then Evil-Lyn says, not this time, and grabs him. And it's like, how is she keeping him? Does he stay? I don't recall seeing him. I just realised that. So there's a few things left open-ended for season 2, if there is one. And that's another one. I'm pretty sure he's not there in the castle at the end. I don't remember seeing him. But I've been talking for nearly 15 minutes. I was not planning to talk this long, but it was 5 episodes. It was a lot to go through. I did my best to get it in order, but it's all over the place. But yeah, it was okay. Overall, I don't hate the whole series. I hated how they sold it, how they tricked us, how they bait and switched us, how they disappointed us with a bunch of fake endings and things that didn't happen, like Adam dying and all this sort of thing. The cliffhanger in the middle just made the first part unwatchable. The second part kind of fixed it all. And if they'd shown it all as a whole in one part, I think people would have received it a lot better and it would have been more enjoyable. And I think the second time I watch it, if I watch it again, it'll play differently and it'll be more enjoyable. But I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Sorry I didn't do a better job of reviewing it, but you know what happens. You know what I think of it. And I'm so tired. It's the best I could do. I'm going to go. It's 8 a.m. at the moment, I think, in Australia. Bye.